did the Richland one with us when we did the Richland.
Yeah, that was what, 2001?
2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm old now, so I don't remember well, you know.
Yeah.
When you're 5, you know whether you're 5 or 6. When you get up to about 70, it's like, yeah, that's the count, and then you run out of hands.
Digits your tens.
So, I think I'll do question and answers first. I really, really have a passion to witness to the lost. It started out with Mormons, and then it went into Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses, and then Catholics, and then evolutionists, creation evolution, and I'm an ex-Freemason. So I had a problem. I was raised in Freemasonry, so I know what it's like to be raised in a Mormon environment. All your buddies are Mormons, go to the Mormon church, you know, and you maybe even go to the Mormon temple. Well, I was in the Masonic temple. And, you know, Ed Decker was a DeMolay boy, and so was I. So if you know who Ed Decker was, well, we'll talk about. He's still alive, but he's not doing well. He's in a wheelchair. But Ed started Saints Alive in Jesus, and he did the Godmakers movie. If you ever heard of Godmakers movie, he's the guy that did it. And it made Mormonism, witnessing the Mormons, more popular. People all over the United States and really across the world, and even speaking, started witnessing the Mormons, and many of those ministries have either died or just quit. You know, it doesn't make a lot of money. I don't care. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just out there loving witnessing the Mormons. So the more I do it, the better I get at it, just like anything else. You're going to drive a race car, how often, you know, if you drive for 40 years, you might be pretty good at it, right? So as you check, what my goal is to give you as much information usably that you can use in the field. So my whole goal is not just to have head knowledge, which you're going to get a bunch of head knowledge. My goal is for you to be able to go, oh, you know what, this is cool. I can talk to my Mormon relatives or friends. And so right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that. If you practice on your Mormon relatives or friends, they're going to be ticked off at you because you make all your mistakes on them, right? So go to Utah with me, make mistakes over there, come back with some wisdom. And then when you start witnessing to them, you're going to do it in a different manner. So we'll talk about that manner and stuff. So all that's going to be fun. You're going to love it. This is a great class. It's lots of fun. And going to Utah sounds bad, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, this sounds terrible. And yet, I can't wait to go the next time. And I've been going to Salt Lake. Some of you know this. Been going to Salt Lake for 40 years in a row. This is my 41st year in a row. Like never have I missed once in a row. 40 years in a row. Sometimes 5 or 6 times. And I can't wait to go again. All I need is an excuse, and I'm gone. So, and I take people with me. Many years in the early days, no one knew what was going on, and I went by myself. And so there's stories. I've got lots of stories. You're going to have fun with the stories. So, question and answer. That's a little introduction. Yeah.
Marshall, when you go to Salt Lake City or Utah, wherever you go, do you go door to door, or do you go?
Yes. And yes,
and
and
outside
yes,
the
and
temple?
or yes, and all those
Okay.
orders, yes. Everything, door to door, at their temple, like with Dale, at their, you know, conferences, whatever they did, if they have some kind of big, the Olympics, I went, yeah. Oh boy, it was so much fun. I got to the Olympics, I didn't have a voice. I got 3 guys from Calvary Chapel with me. I couldn't talk. I've never done that. When I went to Utah, I never talked like that. Couldn't talk. No voice the whole time. God just muffled me. They had to take over. Oh, it's so much fun. They're going, oh, this is great. What do we do next? It was just a ball. And so I'm sitting there, calm, Marshall calm, right, in Utah. God had to calm me down, but no voice. And this girl sits next to me. There's a brick planter, right? It's a story I haven't told in a long time. And she goes, so what are those loudmouths over there talking about? I get to tell her. And she's calm. She doesn't need the loudmouth over here loudmouthing her. She needs somebody to calm. And so I'm calm, witnessing to her and showing her why they're doing what they're doing. She goes, that's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. Pretty cool. So I hope that answers your question. I have long answers. Next, yeah.
Well, along those lines, what types and how much opposition do you get? I mean, not just the person who's stand out.
Super good question.
I mean, you get like formal
Question.
type. I won't call them threats, but
Let's just start out with Mom. Mom said, if God wants to save the Mormons, let him do it. That's Mom. Yeah. How about my wife? If you keep doing this, you're just doing everything controversial, and what if I divorced you? My wife. I told my wife, well, you're a Christian, so am I. What grounds do you have? She goes, I don't have any. Well, listen to yourself. We did that thing, okay? And then, so yeah, opposition. I came home one time, my wife's crying. And I said, what's wrong? Nothing! So you know there's nothing wrong. Yeah. Found out an hour later when she calmed down a little bit that our best friends told her they don't want to be around us anymore because all Marshall wants to do is talk about witnessing the Mormons. So I've had pastors tell me they'd rather have me not at their church. I've had
Not Mormon, but just
regular pastors, yeah, Mormons are bishops, they're not pastors. So
Yeah.
our pastors at churches in the Tri-Cities don't want me to come to, I can visit, I can do a special, but they don't want me as a member there. They don't want the hassle. The last 3 churches I went to, I interviewed the pastor ahead of time. Dave Bechtel at Bethel Church. Dave and I are best friends. And he said, you can come here all you want. Well, the elders had another story after about 11 years, so I came to Calvary Chapel. But one of the pastors was, he's really nice. I'm friends with all these guys. But, well, Marshall, you're going to wear shorts. You don't use King James only. You might want to go somewhere else. But we're still friends. Just, I want to make sure I'm not causing trouble at the church. Because did Paul cause any trouble? So if you decide that you want to really be bold and public with your faith, you're going to get in trouble. So we're going to get into that. That's the first lesson. You're going to love that. Next question. Yeah.
What do you find to be the most effective means of communication with Mormons? Like really,
The most effective way of communication with Mormons. And I didn't know the most effective way until she just asked me that question. The loving relationship. They can tell when you love them. And the effective ways, we're going to talk about the effective ways that I use. And you're going to hear about some of the Mormons that got saved. And it's like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me. And we could call them right now. Some of them are still around. I saw their numbers. And they would talk to you. We might even do that in class. Yeah.
People like Mormon, like Marshall, don't have to have any excuse because God wants us to help. And so we all can't be Billy Grahams and get thousands and thousands of people. But one at a time, we can give them the word and show them what is the right way with correct things you can pick out of the Bible. It's so neat.
It is really fun.
One at a time you can save people.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on this brother's question about opposition.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories with church authorities, Temple Square?
Yeah.
Guys getting...
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Randy Sweet and I met him at Bethel. One of our mutual friends says, you need to meet Marshall. And he says, Marshall who? Marshall Almarode. Goes, Marshall Almarode, 5825627. He had a paper in his pocket. He called Ed Decker and he gave him my number. And it's like, you're kidding me. So a week later we met. And Randy just kept saying, you're a pickin' radical. You're a pickin' radical. You're a pickin' radical. That was his statement. I said, well, we're going to go to a Mormon temple opening. It's 1989 Portland temple opening. And he said, I'm not going. Well, he kept being around me. Pretty soon he goes, okay, I'm going. Yeah. After that, that's a long story, so I'm not going to go there. But to answer your question, he decided he was going to go to Utah with me. This is the early days of Manti. And in those days, we could get a crowd of 150 around us. I had flip charts. The Mormons used to have flip charts, and I had 11 by 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11 flip charts, photocopies of their stuff. And so I would hold it up. We brought a cross down to the streets, and the Mormons would just crowd around us. One would hold the cross, another one would hold my books, and another one would do crowd control. You're after me, you're after, no, we don't interrupt, we're having fun here now. You're after that guy, and I would do question and answer. And we're in the middle of this, and this guy from Tonga, big guy, kept saying something in Tonganese. I go, sir, if you want to ask me a question, ask it in English, I'll be fine. But if I don't understand your language. So I was nice to him and everything. Finally, I would ignore him, go on to the next person, right? So after about an hour, both of us got hit at the same time. Knocked me on the ground. I could see stars ringing in my ears and that kind of thing. Got me right back here. And got Randy right here. He got a big lump on his chin. I've never seen a lump on a chin before. And so that was welcome to Manti. It was our first year in Manti. Welcome to Manti. And so the cops came. They caught him, and they jumped over and ran through the crowd. The cops caught him. So you're talking about controversy and stuff. Yeah. So the cops got him, and they came and got us and said, "Hey, are you the guys that got hit?" "Yeah." "Well, we need you down in the police department to file charges." I said, "Well, we're busy right now." "No, we need you to come down right now." So we finally said, "Okay," and we quit witnessing. And we went with the policeman, and I hear behind me a guy goes, "You'll never come back." I said, "See y'all next year." I've been back every year. So yeah, it was great. You had a question over here?
She does.
Oh,
How many years were you a Mormon before you converted back until you changed?
0 years. I've never been a Mormon. Not one. 10 seconds. I tell people not 10 seconds was a Mormon. I am an ex-Freemason. I was a DeMolay boy when I was a kid. Got 15 people in DeMolay. I was evangelistic. All my buddies, I get them all in DeMolay. When I turned 21, I joined the Freemasons because I thought it was the right thing to do. Took an oath of death, binding myself under no less penalty than that of having my throat cut from ear to ear, my tongue torn out by its roots, and my body buried at the rough sands of the sea at low water mark where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours, should I ever willingly or knowingly violate this, my solemn oath of an entered apprentice Mason, so help me God and keep me steadfast. And every Freemason swears that in the initiatory degree. Everyone. And they'll all lie to you. Oh, there's no oath of death. So Masons are the fastest liars on earth. Hope that answers your question. He wasn't a Mormon. So I understand what Mormonism is about because I was raised by parents that didn't know it was a false religion. And people say, well, Freemasonry is not a religion, because they'll tell you that over and over again. But you have to believe in God and profess a belief in God to join. Of course, that isn't religious, is it? Yeah.
Have to believe in a God.
Any God will do.
Any God will do.
But you have to have faith in God. You can't be an atheist and join Freemasonry. So guess what? It's a religion. That alone, and then I have evidence. I have a whole tract on, 3 tracts on Freemasonry. So yeah, I have evidence, lots of evidence, and I have the books. So I have the books to back it up. I don't like to be wrong. How many people want to be wrong? They like to be wrong, right? No. So, question, yeah.
How long was it, you being a Freemason and all, and the connection with Joseph Smith being a Freemason, how long did it take you to figure out the connection when you started reaching out to
when I started looking into Mormonism, it didn't take me very long to find out that they had Mormon temples. And Ed Decker talked about the temple ceremony being from Freemasonry, so I had to go dig and start collecting Freemasonry books. Okay. We're going to talk about the controversy zone. We kind of already did that a little bit. Christian heroes, witnessing stories. So I'm going to give you some stories about witnessing. 3 keys of all faith. This is the theme of the class. It's got an asterisk next to it. Theme of the class. When you learn this, you're good. You're golden. You can talk to any religion, anytime. All you're doing is looking for those 3 things. And what about this? What about that? And if they're honest with you, which they're not usually honest, but if they're honest with you, you can find out what they believe. If they want to snow you like a lot of the cults do, or false religions. I don't really want to call them cults. I want to call them false religion. If I call them cults and I get one that a pastor doesn't like, doesn't think it's a cult. But if I say false religion, even the pastors who, think it's not a cult, will say it's false religion. So I just use false religion. Get me out of trouble. Lost and found. How to get lost? How to get found? And then correspondence, course in swimming, effective witnessing, expert, boldness, wisdom, and polemics. Those are definition things that talk about Mormon testimony and the life verse. So that's kind of what is on the first session. So we'll see if we can get through that.
We need 2 more.
Like take Mormonism 101.
There's one here.
There's 1 there.
1 chair back there.
1 chair back there.
We're going to need some more chairs, I'm going to
It
guess.
started at 4:30.
Come on in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
When you decide that something's right or wrong, abortion's wrong. Somebody's going to be mad at you. Abortion's right. It's a woman's right. It's not another body. Somebody's going to be mad at you, right? So take a stand on anything. It doesn't matter. The boss is wrong. You know, the boss is right. It doesn't matter what you take a stand on. You're in the controversy zone. If you say, oh, it doesn't matter, hey, you get along with anybody. When does a wolf look like a sheep? You know, who invented wolf in sheep's clothing? You know, the wolf eats the sheep's clothing, by the way. It was Jesus. Talked about false teachers, wolf in sheep's clothing. So don't be caught unaware. We got a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing in every generation. Not politically or religiously correct. You kind of saw that when you first started talking to me. You saw this, you're going to get in trouble. So there's an old saying for mechanics, you don't want to have grease in your fingernails, don't work on cars. You don't want to get in trouble, don't stand for Jesus. Christians like to fight amongst each other. Oh, I'm a Baptist, I'm Pentecostal, I'm whatever. And they don't focus on the enemy. You know, we're supposed to help the enemy come to Christ, right? So we need to figure out who the guys are that are lost. We need to focus on the lost. Protect yourself. Okay, so I got one, protect yourself. What's a protect yourself? If you use Isaiah 43:10, there's no God before me, I know not one, you know, no God formed before me, there's no God formed after me. God doesn't know the Father God or his grandfather God doesn't know those guys. The Mormons are going to say, oh, okay, nice to talk to you, they're gone. You have protected your family. There's value in knowing Isaiah 43:10, Isaiah 44:6 and 8. There's value in knowing those verses. Okay? However, if you're going to try and win a Mormon to Christ, you don't start with those verses. You don't start with the Bible, because you're going to just turn them off. So you learn their culture, like if you're going to go on mission to somebody in Africa, you have to learn their culture and their language, right? And then you're going to be more effective. Same thing here. This is a foreign, bunch of foreigners in America. They're not biblical Christianity, and they have a whole different personality, a whole bit different thing that they're doing. So you're going to protect your community, your friends, your family. When I hold signs out in front of the Mormon temple, I'm protecting the community. And I remember when we were out in front of the Mormon temple here in Richland, this guy came by, he's an ex-Mormon, he says, I'd never go through there. I said, why not? Well, I just wouldn't. I said, well, you have to go through and see what's going on. I'll take you through, we'll go through together. I went through 11 times. They knew who I was. I talked to them at first, and I said, you probably won't let me go through. They said, no, you can go through as long as you're respectful. I said, that's no problem. So I took him through, and he goes, man, I'm so glad I went through. Because now I see what they're doing, because he wasn't a Temple Mormon, he didn't know. So the second part is helping your Mormons come to know the real Jesus and the real gospel. Now, if I believe in a phony Jesus, do I get to go to the real heaven? No, I tell Mormons it's a phony heaven. Don't go there, it's not a good place. So you want to go to the real heaven with the real Jesus, okay? So I do that all the time. So be obedient, becoming mature in the faith. That's what the Bible talks about. So my purpose in this class is to prepare the students for active theological engagement with the Mormons and teach what I want you to know. I'm going to test you what I want you to know. You don't have to take the test, it's optional, but it's kind of fun just to see how you do. I cover the questions and answers on the test over and over and over again. So you should get 100% on the test. I mean, that makes it easy. Where did this question come from? It's not going to happen in my class. Okay? Now, if you skip half of it, there's going to be where did this question come from. Okay? My goal, 100% on the final exam. So you have confidence talking to Mormons. I'm so confident I sound arrogant, okay? I'm sorry I sound arrogant, but I'm not going to be unconfident, okay? So that's just where I'm at. Our field testing is, my teaching is field tested. That's how I learned it. I learned it from some books. I don't like to read. When you look at me, you're looking at somebody who's different. When I was a senior in high school, I was a math and science guy. I was not English. I did not take English as a senior. They said it was optional. I took it for that 3 weeks. A bunch of girls in there and 2 guys. Boom, I was out of there. You know? And it's like, okay, I don't like to write things. I don't like to think up something for some kind of final. I just didn't like it. And here I am. That's me now. That's what I do. Yeah. I've written over 75 tracks. So we've got tracks here going on. So you never know what God's going to call you to do. If you'd have told me 44 years ago, in a year, Marshall, you're going to start witnessing the Mormons, I'd have said, man, you're Looney Tunes. It's never going to happen. Not this guy, not at all. And yet, I believe God has made me perfect for witnessing the Mormons. He has made me, I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. If Mormons were in this class, it'd be just, I'm going to meet with Mormons on Monday, tomorrow. And we're just having fun. So I take them to lunch, and And they talk and they ask me questions and I grin at them and we have fun. And they have fun learning how Mormonism's wrong. So I have a 3-point outline to study any faith. I call them 3 keys of all faiths. And my 3 keys are right here. I wear these to Utah. And just like that on around my neck. And of course, one Mormon says, okay, I'll bite. He's an older guy. Those are the 3 keys of all faiths, right? Or 3 keys of the 3 keys of the kingdom of heaven. He said those are the keys of the kingdom of heaven. That's what he said. I said, yeah, they are. I said, I found them. You did? I go, yeah, I found the keys. He said, now the Mormon church has the keys, don't they? He goes, yeah. Did they ever tell you what they were? He goes, no, they never did. I said, the Mormon church has it has the keys of all faiths. At that time, I only had 2 on it. And they haven't told you? He goes, no, I don't know what they are. I said, well, I know what they are. He goes, you do? I go, yeah. I'm going to show you, yeah. So I open the Bible, Matthew, where Jesus says, I'll give you the keys that came in heaven. Where you bind on earth will be bound, as shall already been bound in heaven. It's that one. And then I said, you know what the keys are? It's Jesus and salvation. That's the keys to heaven. That's how you get in. Oh, I didn't know that. So you get to teach them the gospel. I like to have things that they ask me questions. So, if you're wearing a little key, it's just jewelry. You gotta wear a big one, okay? And of course, the Mormons always like to ask me about the gun, It's a replica. But Joseph shot 3 times when he was getting killed. And he said he was going to go out as a lamb to slaughter. Well, lambs don't shoot back. He could have made his last prophecy true, but he didn't. Killed 3 people. So those are things I just like to have props. Props are fun. A t-shirt's fun. Oh, I got to talk about the t-shirt. Okay, that's another thing. Why do I wear a t-shirt with Joseph Smith on the front and Brigham Young on the back? And a big red circle and a slash through it. We know about Ghostbusters, this is Mormon Busters, right? And it's yellow, banana yellow of all things. Well, we're gonna get to that. All right, let's go through this a little bit. Okay, here's the sources of truth. I got 10 of them here for Mormonism. There's probably more than that, but this is a really good one. I've got a brochure on that, probably sitting over there, the little blonde one, a tan one, the little square one there someplace. It's around here somewhere. I got a bunch of them. I just only brought one today. So Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price, the Bible, and the Joseph Smith inspired version is in their Bible, so you get 2 Bibles in there. Founding Prophets, Joseph and Brigham. If you say I'm a Mormon, but I don't believe Joseph's a prophet, you're going to get kicked out. Words of all succeeding modern day prophets when they speak in conference. So prophets and apostles, if they speak in conference, that's scripture, according to Mormonism. So you have 5 scriptures. These 4 plus that one. Words, books authored by the church. Can the true church teach false doctrine in its official teachings? How much false doctrine can a true church teach and still be true? I ask that with Mormons all the time. And they go, oh man, I've heard false doctrine here too, It's just in the back of their mind. They're not going to tell you. The back of their mind is like, ooh, that's not good. Books authored by the church. Books authored by Mormon authorities, prophets, BYU professors. These guys are hired by the church. If they're teaching false doctrine, that's a problem, isn't it? Temple ritual, not written down anywhere in Mormonism. Now, people have gone through the temple and written it down, and they actually made videos, audios of it and stuff like that. And then personal feelings. Do you realize their testimony trumps everything? I don't care if Joseph Smith's false. I've had Mormons tell me that. I don't care if he's a false prophet. I have a testimony. The Mormon church is true. Really? We're talking, some bad logic going on here, but it doesn't matter as long as I have an answer. It's okay. So, and I like to tell them that any answer will do, even if it's dumb. It's okay. It works. And then Mormons have to think about it. Maybe that was kind of a dumb answer, wasn't it? All right. Should we take a break? Anybody want to take a break? Okay. We'll keep going then.
So how many Book of Mormon versions are there?
We're in the 7th version of the Book of Mormon. 1830, 1837, 1840, 1842, 1879, 1920, and 1981.
Has there ever been a study on the differences of them?
Oh yeah. Sandra Tanner wrote a book called 3,913 Changes in the Book of Mormon from the 64 version, which is the 18th.
No, the significant change is not
word changes only.
Word changes?
Some of them are not too significant because they're just tense changes or whatever. But anytime the word was changed, she didn't do periods or commas, any punctuation, just words alone. Okay. 3,913 changes from 1830 to 1964, which is the 1920 version.
You've seen some of this.
Now, we have a discernment paragraph. Now, I brought a bunch of Book of Mormons. I'd like to pass these out. If you are interested at all in witnessing, you're going to want to have all three. So I don't know if I have enough, but how many people would like all three? Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price. Because I'm gonna get into something here and actually open up this stuff.
You have all of them?
So there's a triple combination. If you don't have one, hopefully we have enough for everybody here. These are triples here. For that one. There's some triples there.
Okay. These are all the same. Pass them out.
Yep, pass them out. You can have them if you want them. I've got lots of them. This is pretty much Book of Mormon. If you just want the Book of Mormon, that's this here.
Is the one online the same?
What's that?
Is the one online the same?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, one online, the same. If you want to go online. Here's another triple. Pass that back there, somebody. It has a paragraph at the bottom page right there. It's 2 sentences, okay? Who doesn't have it?
Oh my gosh, way in.
Who needs a, here, you can know when you're not gonna find it. You're not gonna find it that way. So this only appears in 1981 and newer. Okay, so the bottom of the page it says about this edition. Some minor errors in the text have been perpetuated in past editions of the Book of Mormon. This edition contains corrections that seem appropriate to bring material into conformity with pre-publication manuscripts and early editions edited by the prophet Joseph Smith. A lady 72 years old, that's how old I am now, she'd been Mormon all of her life. She lived in the Highlands in Kennewick. And her husband and her were out getting a hamburger. And she saw this little brochure in between the slats of a cedar fence. It was sticking out like that. And she said, "What's that thing in the fence?" Her husband said, "I don't know." She said, "Go get it for me." So he went and got it for her. It was one of our brochures that back in those days I hadn't printed it, I didn't make any brochures, so it was somebody else's brochure. It was John L. Smith's brochure. It was Mormonism Has Another Jesus. It had Jesus on the front in flames with fire coming out of his eyeballs. My wife hated that brochure. And we stamped on the back of it my name and phone number and Christians for the God of the Bible back in those days. She remembers that real well. And so, she called me. She said, "What's the deal about this thing here?" I said, "Well," she said, "We want you to come over and talk to us." Okay. So her husband joined the Mormon church many years later. He'd been non-Mormon forever, but finally just joined because she was his wife, and he loved her, and so, okay, we joined the Mormon church. Didn't really believe it, but he joined it anyway. So they could go through the temple. She said, "What's this deal?" So I came over, and I had an 1830 Book of Mormon, which I don't have one with me here. It was a photocopy printed by the church in 1980, 150th anniversary of the original 1830. I left her with one. She says, "I'm going to compare these." I said, "Okay, fine." And so she called me back and said, "I'm done comparing, come on over." Okay, so I went over. She says, "Well, they have 2 blank pages in this one and only 1 in that one." And she's like detailed. Okay, and this one here, it doesn't have this page, and, and she said, "Then there's this paragraph at the bottom of the page here." She read it to me. I'm going, "You're kidding me. That's amazing." She goes, "I found something good." I said, "This is really good. You're going to get famous on this one." "Really? Honey, look what I found. I found something." She's all excited, right? They came out of the Mormon church, and they joined the Highlands First Christian Church, Highlands Christian Church, and they were in that church until they died. They were Christians from that day forward. So you never know what's going to happen. She told me about that verse. That was before 1990, and I've used it all the time, all over the place. So let's just go through it. It's really not a verse, it's a paragraph. I call it the paragraph. So when you talk about the paragraph, you know what it is. About this edition, some minor errors in the text have been perpetuated in past editions of the Book of Mormon. So what are those minor additions? What are the minor errors? They're not going to tell you what the minor errors are. There's no footnote here. You don't know where they're at. But this edition contains corrections that seem appropriate to bring the material into conformity with pre-publication manuscripts and early editions by the prophet Joseph Smith. So let's go through all that and just look at what it really means. Some minor errors in the text have been perpetuated in past editions of the Book of Mormon. Minor errors. Now, okay, minor errors in the text have been perpetuated. Now, if there's major errors in there, they're not admitting them, are there? There are major errors in the text. Now, if it said there's major errors, thinking Mormons would get out. Minor errors, not a big deal, right? in the text have been perpetuated. Who's the perpetrator of these perpetuations? Say that real fast. Who's the perpetrator of these perpetuations? I've been saying it for years, so pretty good at it. Is it the Baptist church? The Muslim church? The Catholic church?
The prophet.
No, it's the true church. The Mormon church perpetuated the true errors from the true God, right? Right? I mean, I asked the Mormons, is that right? What are they going to tell me? No. No. They're like, well, they want the errors to come from something else. Well, where do errors come from? You got three choices. Came from God, came from man, came from the devil. Okay? So let's just assume the best, man. Okay? So somehow, in your Book of Mormon, you get the work of man in there, right? And Joseph Smith said it was done by the gift and power of God. So somehow man got in there, right? So we discovered it after how many years? 150 years. So we're going to take the work of man out, okay? So minor errors of the text have been perpetuated in past editions of the Book of Mormon. What are the past editions? Nobody tells you. 1830, 1837, 1840, 1842, 1879, 1920, and this is 1981. So it only appears in 81. Who's the author of 1981? Peter McConkie and his guys. He is the Mormon authority. He's the Mormon theologian. He died in 85. So he did this in 81. So there's authorities on each version. So 1830, 1837, 1840, and 1842, that's Joseph. 1879, well, that was Orson Pratt. 1920, Dr. James Talmage. 1981, Bruce McConkie. So they're your authors. And we'll go through those. You hear it now, the first time you're going to hear it probably 4 or 5 more times. We have a choice. It's conformity. We know it's the work of man. And how do I know it's the work of man? Well, it tells us twice it's the work of man. That's one, conformity, the word conformity. Now, I've read it to you, well, I've quoted it to you over and over again, and I've quoted it this way. This edition contains corrections that seem appropriate to bring the material into conformity with pre-publication manuscripts and early editions edited by the prophet Joseph Smith. Well, pre-publication manuscripts, there's 2 of them, the original and the printer copy. Okay, so that's one of the things that they don't always know. And then early editions, that'd be 1830, 1837, 1840, and 1842, right? So now you got early editions edited by the prophet Joseph Smith. So they're going to conform with 2 pre-publication manuscripts and early editions edited by the prophet Joseph Smith. Well, the early editions are all different, except for 1840 and 1842. We think they just took an 1842 and it says 4th edition, but it really, the page and everything looks the same. Can't tell the difference. So 3 of them don't look the same. And the 2 manuscripts, you know, when you copy, you don't really get it all right perfectly. So there's slight changes in the manuscript. They don't conform with each other, so why would the modern one conform with which one are you going to do? You're going to flip a coin? Let's use the 1837. Oh, let's use the 1840. I mean, which one are you going to use? Right? So they look at this stuff and they go, okay, that's how we do it. You know, the early editions edited by the prophet Joseph Smith and the pre-publication manuscripts. That's what they're conforming it to. That's the work of man. God just says, thus saith the Lord, and it's over, right? There's no thus saith the Lord here. So the last way you know is there's 2 ways they admit it's work of man, and that's, I'll read it, I'll say it to you this way. This edition contains corrections that seem appropriate. You ever heard of a thus saith the Lord? Okay, so here they're admitting inside their scriptures, inside the leather covers of their scripture, that they have the work of man in their scriptures. And what are they putting back in? Well, they have 3 choices, don't they? It can come from God, it can come from man, or the devil. We just found that they're putting back in things that seem appropriate. They're putting the work of man right back in, according to their own admission. You don't find this kind of stuff in the Bible. But here we have this kind of stuff going on in the Book of Mormon. So how do I know what's wrong? Well, I find this everywhere I look, in every topic. It doesn't matter. Find stuff. It doesn't work. So, who's God the Father? That's the whole topic we'll talk about. We'll talk about who the Son is. That's not in this one here. Grace verses, we'll do that. Evangelism verses. What's the evangelism verse in Mormonism? Well, we know what ours is, John 3:16, right? And we use other ones too, but that's and this standard Mormon Testament, we're going to cover all that. When they give you the Mormon Testament, you just smile at them because you go, oh yeah, it's just Memorex. Yeah, pretty cool. So, left pocket, right pocket. What's that mean? I'm always looking for some reason to witness the Mormons, right? So, some of you know this. I carry this in my left pocket, Book of Mormon. Why do I carry it in my left pocket?
It's the one that's left.
Because it's not right. And the Mormons love it. They laugh too. They go, that's cool. Now, the Mormon I was talking with in February, he left this mission, finished his mission like in October. So I didn't get to say goodbye because I was gone in October. So, but we kind of said our goodbyes before I went on vacation. I'm running around, taking them out to lunch, we're having fun and talking, and so I got a story about that. And some of you have heard the story already. We're talking, and so I said, yeah, you know, and I said, well, even your angel on top of the temple isn't Moroni, it's Nephi. Joseph never knew that it was Moroni, because that's supposed to be the second vision. The first vision, second vision, where he's in his room, upper room, and this angel shows up and he's white and light in the room, and he's hovering above his feet are, he doesn't have sandals on, hovering above the ground, above the floor. And his name is Nephi. All the time, it's Nephi. So I just told him that, and he goes, okay, you know, and they know I don't like to lose, right? So it's not 1 week later, it's 2 weeks later. He says, you know, the other day, the last couple times ago, you said that the angel's name was Nephi, not Moroni. He says, can you back that up? I said, do I like to lose? He goes, no, you don't. I said, you got 15 minutes to go to my house again. We went to my house. And I'm pulling off here and letting him read, and pull another one off, let him read, and another one off. His partner, after about the last one, about 4 or 5 books I pull out, his partner goes, oh. I said, that's the one? Oh, that's the one right there. Yeah, I'm the same. We're agreeing. Oh, that's the one. So they realize, he just said, oh, he's realizing that I recognize he's having a problem with it. I didn't say, oh, you getting out of the Mormon church? I mean, I could have, but I'm trying to be friendly and you know, meet him next week. Now, if I want, I can make him not ever come back. That's easy. And most Christians know how to do that, you know. Give them heck, right? Give them hell. Because if they won't take heaven, they're going to get hell, aren't they? So what's in my right pocket? Well, I usually show them the cross first, and then I turn it over, and it's my life verse. Hold firmly to the trustworthy message as it has been taught. So you can encourage others with sound doctrine, that be from the Word of God, and things Christians don't want to hear, refute those who oppose it. So I show them that. Then in my upper right pocket, my wife and I went to Israel with the church a couple of years before COVID. And I tell them, these are widow's mites from the time of Christ, these are replicas. And so let's pass that around, you guys can look at it. One side's an anchor, the other side's a chariot wheel. And this is evidence the Bible's true. I'm in the Bible lands, I'm looking for evidence the Bible's true. I like coins, so let's look see if we can find some coins that are mentioned in the Bible. So I got a widow's mite, I got a Pontius Pilate coin that wasn't even mentioned in the Bible. I just got Pontius Pilate. I bought some real one. So you know, they're $50, $100, something like that. That one, if it was a real widow's mite, would be $1,000. I saw somebody buy 13 of them from this church. $13,000 for perfect widow's mites. Awesome.
What do you call those? Rose mites?
Widow's mites. Yeah.
Oh, widow's mites.
Widow's mites. Yeah, they were called mites before the widow put 2 mites in the temple offering. And then they had to call them widow's mites from then on. So that's in my right pocket, my upper right pocket. I have these, you know, cargo pants, right? And so then I say in my other left pocket. These are all of the coins they found so far, and they're mentioned in Alma chapter 11 of the Book of Mormon to prove the Mormon church is true. So now, I've just told them to go straight to hell, and they laugh. And they're having fun. What else you got, you know? Isn't that fun? I mean, I have fun talking to them and showing them how what they're doing is wrong. And they can't, they want to hear they don't want to hear the next thing they can't wait to hear. It's, you know, it's just so much fun.
Do you get into the archaeology side of it then too?
What'd you say?
Do you get into the archaeology side of things too?
Oh, we're going to have fun with that one. One Mormon, he served 4 missions in the Mormon church. His first mission, him and his partner, each got over 100 people converted in Texas. He came out of the Mormon church in less than 6 months with the archaeology geography. Now, somehow I had all my transparencies. I'm old, right? So I got these transparencies, the overhead projector and all that stuff. And you know, you gotta have the 3-ring binder, you gotta put it on, then you gotta put it back on, make sure it gets in there, and then you get the next one. It takes a long time. This is just click, 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 right? A lot faster. I had a buddy of mine scan them all, and somehow I didn't get that one. So I brought my 3-ring binder this thick, because it takes like 2 hours to go through that, to him. And he says, well, I've already seen these. And sure enough, it was on his computer, and he gave them to me. And so this is probably 15 years since I've done that. So you guys are going to see that one, and you're going to love it. It's pretty awesome. So let's see if we can get through this. We're going to do question and answers every time. There's your Widow's Mite thing. Promise Keepers, 1998. I wore that shirt to Promise Keepers. I got to talk to lots of Mormons. I went to Boise Promise Keepers because I knew there's 50% Mormons in Boise. I couldn't wait. Had a ball. This is Boise Promise Keepers, a bunch of guys, and Portland Conference. Bill McCartney's the head of it. Then I went to the Pendleton Roundup with that shirt.
Drinking there.
2 hours, 2 days, 2023. Had a ball, witnessing people left and right, and passing out tracts. They never kicked me out or anything. Pretty fun, huh? I got another witnessing story. April conference. Let's see, winning a lifelong Mormon in one encounter. Yeah, I went to April conference. Granny Gear told me, I've come to know and believe that Mormons can be one in one encounter. You're crazy, Granny. Nobody does that. It takes 8 years, I heard. That's what James R. Spencer in that book, if you buy the book, he's going to say 8 years average. I'm not thinking anybody's ever going to come in one encounter, right? April conference, I'm in Salt Lake. General conference, the Mormon Church. On the streets. And we go northwest corner of Main and 100 South. So we're 1 block south of where everybody's at. You've been there before. And so I'm thinking, well, let's just, everybody's up here, the big crowd. Let's go up. I've got a kid with me. He's 13, but he looks like he's 16. He says, you want to go around over here where nobody's at? Let's just do our own thing. Okay, let's do it. So we go around the corner. There's a guy sitting down, blonde, long stringy blonde hair, obviously homeless. As soon as we walk around the corner, he stands up, polite. I said, so what church you go to? You go to a church? You go to church somewhere? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, where do you go? I said, I'm LDS. Oh, so the Mormon church is true? Absolutely. Joseph Smith, true prophet? Absolutely. Book of Mormon's the word of God? Absolutely. I said, well, you've been a Mormon all your life? Yep. So probably don't really know much outside the Mormon church, do you? Yeah, not really. I've visited a couple times, that's about it. He said, so if there's something out there you don't know about, would you like to know about it? He says, yeah, why not? If he says no, I walk off. I don't care. I don't need to force anybody in the kingdom. Jesus didn't force you, virtue on ruler. So I said, okay. So now I'm not going to teach you anything you don't already know. I've never done that before. Brand new witnessing thing. I'm in the streets. I don't know this before. I'm just there, waiting, doing what I think God wants me to do. So I said, I'm not going to teach you anything you don't already know. You've been a Mormon all your life. You already know what's wrong. He goes, do not. I got a testimony. I know it's true. I said, of course you do. Or you wouldn't be Mormon. But you know enough information. If I remind you of what you already know and don't teach you anything, you're going to know the Mormon church is wrong. He says, go for it. Yeah, it's not possible. He's that confident. So what do? We went for it. So you see that, 20 minutes, okay? I'm just going to connect the dots. I told him that. So I started with the first vision. We'll go through what I talked about another time. I talked about how Jesus failed twice in Mormonism.
What's that mean?
Okay. I talked about the total apostasy where all the churches failed and that there was no true church on earth. Jesus said, I will never leave you nor forsake you until the total apostasy, and then I will. No. So, totally against the Bible. I talked about the God of the Book of Mormon, how the God of the Book of Mormon isn't the God they believe today. So if I read the Book of Mormon, I can't join the Mormon church because it's not the same God. And I talked about the word of wisdom. I talked about grace verses, the difference between their grace verse and our grace verse. In 20 minutes, he asked me this. He kept saying, well, that means Joseph's lied. I go, yeah, there's a .com. He goes, really? Yeah. And he said, well, then that means the Mormon church is wrong. I go, duh, I told you. He said, you haven't taught me anything I didn't already know. I can't believe it. You taught me, I already knew all this stuff. I said, I told you you did. He goes, well, that means the Mormon church is wrong. I'm not Mormon anymore.
Oh.
Less than 20 minutes, he says that. And I talked about salvation and how you get salvation biblically. And he asked me a question out of the blue. I did not prompt him. He said something I don't normally get. He said, will you pray for me for salvation? And I said, no. Because you can pray, you don't have to have me, I don't need to be your mediator. I don't have any notches in my gun belt, I don't need that. He says, no, please, please. He says, I don't know how to pray. Would you please pray for me? I said, okay, in that case I will. So we prayed for him for salvation. And accepted Jesus right there on the streets. In the first encounter, Granny Gear was right. In the first encounter. I'd never used that method ever before. Never heard of anybody ever using it. I've not really taught it much. So you're one of the first classes to actually hear that method. Now, we'll go through these things, and you'll see the stuff I'm talking about, and we'll talk about it another time. But I got about 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see if I can get through this. Because that's the story. Oh, yeah, this is a really good one. It's really good. Okay, this is subtle. This is subtle. It's subtle, okay? You know, it's Larson, right? It's subtle. Okay? And then, look, Sid, another snowball. I tell you, this place is slipping. Why? Because you can't say it's going to hell. This place is going to hell. I can't say that, right? It's already hell. This is Sid slipping. I just thought that was so funny. I said, okay, I got to put that in. So I tease the Mormons all the time. You know, they know I like them because I tease them. You know, and they'll tease me back. And like the Mormon, right? I'm buying lunch. Sometimes it costs me $50 to buy lunch, but that's okay. It's fun, right? And I whip out the manager of Carl's Jr. down there on Kennewick Avenue and 395. I take them there a lot, okay? And I whip out my Book of Mormon and say, see, I got this in my left pocket because it's not right. And so I'll tell them that story, you know, and they all laugh and everything. And the missionaries are right there with me, right? So probably about the 10th time I did that, or maybe the 6th time, I don't know. He pulls one out of his right pocket. So I got mine in the right pocket because it's right. And I said, well, you better because you're Mormon. So I agreed with him. And he says, oh, it's cool, he agrees with me. We didn't argue his agreement. You know, yeah, you better, you're Mormon. When you're not Mormon, you can flip it to the other pocket, right? Eureka, you know? He's like, oh, you know, it's just fun. I have so much fun with them, and they love it. How many people are Christians they could talk to and have fun, and go home and go, I learned a couple things I don't like today. Okay, required topics. Discernment keys of all faiths. We're going to talk about that a lot. Who is God, how we're saved. So all these things I'm going to talk about are in that. Extra credit, you can go with me to Utah if you're taking it for credit. I don't know, but I believe you probably could still get credit at, we canceled the Calvary Chapel Bible College here because I think Jay Inslee was like into, you have to teach sex education or something, and Steve's not going to do that. So for some reason Steve canceled, and I think that's probably what it was, but I wasn't told. But you know how that is. The Gestapo thing that went on, so we don't have Bible college here, but the class is still the class. So if you really want to take it for credit, you probably transfer it down there or something. I don't know how that works because we haven't done it since then. That's session 1. Lost and found. What was that? They get lost before you get saved, right? Yeah. You got to recognize you're lost. I don't need. I've had Mormons say, "Well, I don't need to be saved. I'm fine. You know, my parents are going to heaven. I'm going too." Not interested. So, got to give them lost first. We have about 5 more minutes, maybe 7 more minutes, so we can do question and answer. Yes?
You mentioned the papyrus.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have any manuscripts beyond 1830, older than 1830, or?
No, not in the Book of Mormon. The papyrus is Egyptian, and this stuff is really old. That's in this book right here.
What was it got to do with
and this papyrus is, Joseph Smith said it was the book of Abraham and Joseph when they were in Egypt. And so, obviously it's not. So I've gone through and studied this book right here. In 1983, I read that book. You see how thin it is. I actually got through it. And this is by, no, that's not the one. Sorry. It's this one down here somewhere. We saw it here earlier. It was Mormon Papers by Harry Roth.
So no ancient manuscripts then whatsoever?
Yeah, here it is right here.
No.
Mormon Papers by Harry Roth.
Oh.
And now it's called Are the Mormon Scriptures Reliable? But it was back then it was Mormon Papers by Harry Roth. So if you want to get a quick, easy read, Harry Roth. This was printed by his wife because he died before he got it printed. And I read it. It has a section on the papyrus, and so you get to actually read some stuff on the papyrus. And so it's quick and easy, and you get a little snippet. And so if you want to learn it in a better manner, this is probably the best book to sit down and read it from start to beginning to end, and learn what's going on with the papyrus. There's a lot of things that Joseph was pretty involved in it.
So is the
It's just the Egyptian burial document, right?
That's what everybody says, a burial document. I like to be a little more accurate. and you're gonna hear that from all these books, they're funeral documents, burial documents. What they are is they're afterlife resurrection documents. And no one tells you that. I haven't found it in any book. But it's a judgment afterwards to see if you're worthy to become God. And if Joseph Smith knew that, wouldn't that fit in good? Yeah, but he didn't know that. He didn't get anybody right. He thought the women were men. He didn't have a clue on anybody. So when we get into the papyrus, you're gonna love what I have. It's gonna make it super easy to actually use it. I'm the only one I know of that used the papyrus in witnessing in Manti, Utah. And I only used it 1 year, and it was early on, probably 1990, 92, 94, something like that, I don't know. And I was talking to all the Mormons, telling them how they're wrong, and nothing happened, so I just never got back to it, because it's really complicated, you know, if you don't know how to read Egyptian. But I always have a heart for that, and I'm always listening and reading books. If I see another book, I want to get it, I buy it, I read it. And, you know, this book here I've read probably 10 times. And I've gone and studied it, I've photocopied it, I've done all kinds of stuff with this book. This is a really good one. And Charles Larson's still alive, so we could actually have him come to the Tri-Cities someday, maybe. Anyway, so I made it real simple. We're gonna have fun with that one. And it'll be something where you see my tracks, you're gonna say, I want one of those. I have 3 of them, and you're gonna want them, yeah.
Because Mormons really look to their living prophet that comes out with these once or twice a year revelations during their conferences.
Yep.
And a couple of years ago, they came out with, they could no longer use the word Mormon.
Yep.
Do you see them changing the name of the Book of Mormon?
No. No, I don't think the only thing they've done is they added the words on the bottom, another testimony of Jesus Christ. They added that. I don't think they're going to change much. But you're going to find out the next prophet's going to like to be called Mormon. I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened. They flip-flops,
Yeah.
depending on which prophet you got. So it was, I think, Gordon B. Hinckley liked to be called Mormon. So the Mormons were using Mormon all the time. I don't care. I'm going to use it anyway. I don't care. If they get mad at me, get mad at me. It's okay, you know. So I call them Mormons. I call them LDS. Doesn't matter. Someone will get offended. Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't care. Get offended. Let's talk about that offense then. I mean, you think you're going to talk to a Mormon and not offend them, really? Really? You've got a gospel of offense. That's what's going on. I mean, you can't get to heaven for free. It's not free. You got to earn. You got to work. You got to follow the 10 Commandments. And you know you're not going to follow it 100%. And Jesus is going to do the other 25%. You're going to do 75% yourself. You're going to save yourself. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Next question? Yeah.
How do I prove that the Book of Mormon is false?
We're going to get to that. How do you prove the Book of Mormon's false? That's a killer question, isn't it? And you know, when you get done with this class, you're going to have so much proof it's false, you're not going to believe it. You're just not going to believe it. So let's all open your Book of Mormon to the first page. Nephi, chapter 1, 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 3. Now, some of you already know about this one. I'm going to use it a lot. You're going to know it. By the time the final is, I'll say verse 3, and you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. On the first page, there's a mistake. We haven't gotten very far, have we? On the first page, it took me a long time to find it. So you're looking at the Book of Mormon, and you're going to go past that table of contents on the first page, and then there's verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3. What's verse 3 say? Somebody will read it out loud.
And I know that the record which I make is true, and I make it with mine own hand, and I make it according to my knowledge.
Okay, Scripture is my knowledge or God's knowledge? I ask that of Mormons every time, and they always say God's knowledge. So is this the wisdom of man or the wisdom of God? And they say the wisdom of man. They just said their scriptures aren't scriptures. I get them. I just ask them that question. It's super simple. Christians, it's super simple to witness the Mormons. Super simple. This is how simple my class is. When you get done with my class, you're going to go, I just tough. I'm ready. And you're going to be confident because it works. So you're going to get them lost and you're going to get them saved. You already know what you're doing. When they knocked on your door before, you didn't know where you're going. You didn't know what to do. You're going to know exactly what to do, exactly how it works, and then you're going to trust God on the stuff you don't know. You're going to have a backbone and you're going to show up, and I tell people, it's a step of faith. I don't know everything. I go to Utah and say, God, if you don't show up, I'm going to look really stupid. And I've been there. Okay? You probably have too, right? So who cares? I'll be stupid for God. It doesn't matter. Okay? I don't mind. You know, I've been stupid before. I might as well be stupid for God, right? Well, I don't care. And then when I show up and he's like, whoa, did you see that? I mean, I'm talking to a homeless guy. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go talk to a homeless guy. And he gets saved in 20 minutes? You're kidding me. Never happened before. I've been to Utah, what, 38 times that time? Never happened before. And I spent a lot of time in Utah. Never happened in 20 minutes before, ever. So who knows? You don't know what's going to happen. Trust God and just take that step of faith and go. You know, say, well, Marshall, I don't travel much. Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't travel much till I started witnessing to Mormons. Now I travel quite a bit. Now my wife doesn't like me to leave home. It's too bad. You know, and the Bible says you're not willing to forsake father, mother, brother, sister, for my name's sake. You're not worthy of the kingdom. I mean, do I love my wife? Absolutely. Been married 52 years to the same woman. Same woman, not a different one, same one. And that's God, not me. That's God, not her. It's God. So, yeah.
Have you ever gone to the Mormon church on their testimony, the first Sunday of the month, and bore your testimony from their
I can't
pulpit?
trust myself on a testimony day.
But-
I would have to get up and make a big fool of myself. And I think they would probably kick, I mean, they've kicked me out of Mormon churches before. And I try to be respectful. And I think that's, for me and my it's not wrong, but just for me and my witness here in town, that would get to where the Mormons would be mad at me and it would be more disrespectful in their eyes. I don't care. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't do it. If God told me to do it, I do it. Okay. But as I'm looking at where I'm at and how I went witnessing the Mormon missionaries, the state presidents haven't told them not to talk to me. Okay? And they're sneaking around, or maybe they're telling them. They told me, so I told my bishop I was talking to you. I said, okay, cool. He said, okay, cool. So they're confident, you know. The missionary's talking to me, and I don't think I've ever told them they're going straight to hell. You know, I'm just telling them a different way. So yeah, for me personally, and that doesn't mean you can't do it, and many people have on Fasting Testimony. That's the first week, except for April conference and October conference. The first week is conference.
Yeah, we've done it quite a few times, and it usually, I mean, they're very polite, you know.
Yeah.
Usually they try to separate you from the flock,
Oh, of course.
and they put you in a classroom with a poor young missionary that doesn't know what's going on.
I
That's
have
usually
worn
what
this
happens.
shirt in the Mormon church in town a couple of times. And the first time they kicked me out, then the bishop kicked me out after talking to me for a long time. I said, well, it's up to you. You're going to kick me out. I didn't do anything wrong. It says visitors welcome, right? So what are you doing here? Visiting? Well, what are you really doing here? Visiting? I was. And so he said, well, I'm going to kick you out. I said, okay, fine. Let's go get our signs and hold signs and warn your neighbors. You don't have signs. Well, only one way to find out. I don't like to lose, do I? I had signs in my motorhome. I had a little motorhome, little camper motorhome. Went out, got signs. It was snowing. It was cold. 3 of us stood out there with signs for about an hour and a half. And then the bishop showed up, or the state president showed up. He says, Marshall, why don't you go inside? I said, I already tried that. They kicked me out. He says, well, why don't you go in again? I said, because I told you they kicked me out. He said, well, since I met you last time, I'm the state president now. They all work for me. You can go in. I said, well, I'm not going in without my yellow shirt. I'm wearing my yellow shirt. I'm not going to look like a Mormon when I go in there. He said, that's okay. You can wear your yellow shirt. I said, okay, we'll put the signs away. We put the signs away, and all of us went in and got warm again. And they had a meeting just for me alone. Serious. And back behind we don't call it sanctuary, but behind the meeting place. And there was a guy that I worked with that saw me. He says, I'm coming to that meeting. And he went. I figured, the next day I'm toast at work. Toast. Because we talk serious stuff. We were best buddies from then on. You just don't know what's going to happen. You know, you can do that. Think ahead, you know, what's going to happen. You know, so I'm not going to do this because that might be called pragmatism. It's not biblical. You don't know what's going to happen. Go do it anyway and see what God does. And so, yeah, he respected me from then on. Cool. So we're out of time. Let's pray, and we'll see you next week. I think you're gonna.